Season 7 of Rick and Morty is now over. My video about the premiere was extremely contentious, so let's rip the band-aid off immediately. I think that Season 7 of Rick and Morty was its worst season by far. Now let me tell you why.
It's still raining up here.
The video from last month, I stated that the premiere was probably as bad of a start as you could probably have had. New voices were not shown off great, Morty was barely in the episode and was sort of missing for the next two as well. The premiere just lacked humor and overall it was just a very slow start. Watch that video for my full thoughts. Though as the season went on, the voices in my honest opinion were not the worst, with one actually standout episode in this regard, and I'll get to that much later. The reaction to the last video on the voice cast change were split. Some hated the new voices, some loved it, some were just eh. I really couldn't win by picking the middle option. By just saying eh, I managed to piss off both sides. The sad thing is I just wanted this season to make a miraculous turnaround. It just didn't. Let's start with the bad. Episodes 1, 3, 7, and especially 8 were either dull or downright horrible. I've said enough on how Poopy got his poop back. We don't need to say more here. Air Force Wong is a nice callback to Season 2, Episode 3, Autoerotic Simulation, but to me, it missed the mark on the emotional aspect that it was trying for, and it just wasn't funny. So sadly, that's another miss. Episode 7 had a couple laughs throughout, but it didn't hit from what I expect from Rick and Morty. And then we get to Rise of the Number Icons, the movie. This is, for me, I think the worst episode of the show. Down below, please let me know what your least favorite episode is and why. Make sure to also subscribe to the channel, that always helps. Anyways, Rise of the Number Icons is just everything I dislike about this season. I don't even know what to say about this episode. I hate being this negative, but it's just, yeah, boring Star Wars. For the first maybe a minute, I thought the wordplay was kind of clever, and then it went on for the entire runtime. And this little guy, I hate him. I never found anything that came out of his mouth funny. I just want him gone. Other seasons of Rick and Morty have had poor episodes, sure. Maybe one stinker thrown in. This season had a couple, but it also has this among it. There's a content creator who does amazing video essays called Super Eyepatch Wolf, and I just adore his work so much. And for his Simpsons videos, he's done a painstakingly long process to rate each episode and then average them out for the season to showcase each season's quality. It's really cool. If I were to do something akin to that for Rick and Morty, this season would already be among the lowest, having so many 3s and 5s, but to throw in a 1 to 2 out of 10 with it just default ranks this among the lowest on average for the show. If doing something similar to that interests you, do let me know. I love the format and the type of conversation around it. So in the comments, let me know down below if long form videos on Rick and Morty does interest you. To move on to the positives, the season isn't all bad. Episodes such as The Jerick Trap, That's a Morty, Rick Fending a Mort, and Mort Ragnarok, and lastly, the finale were all at least good or some even great episodes. The Jerick Trap was nice to have after a rough premiere. Something about it was just so dumb just to make it enjoyable for 22 minutes. That's a Morty was fucking disgusting, and because it was so wacky, that worked too. Rick Fending your Mort bringing back the punch card plotline for an almost interdimensional cable type episode was, yeah, it was good. It wasn't top tier, but it was enjoyable at least.
This is a bully gun.
Whoa, cool!
Any questions about it?
Not really.
Yeah, should be self-explanatory.
How are you gonna bully another bully?
What are you doing?
With the last two episodes back to back actually being quite fire. Mort Ragnarok is actually genuinely a great episode of Rick and Morty. This is the bar I expect and hope for. The premise is great. Rick wants this infinite power resource and Morty's empathy ruins his initial plan. They get into some shit with the bloody Pope, and now you have a time loop sort of story of them trying to outsmart someone with infinite power. No notes. This episode is genuinely fire. And then the finale wrapping everything up with this fear hole. This felt actually like classic Rick and Morty with the emotional beats that actually work so well. Rick and Morty run into a guy that might have something to satisfy their hunger for a good scare. Really, really simple premise. They go to Denny's, find a hole, Morty jumps in, Rick presumably follows. The entire episode then explores the two of them and their relationship. The entire catch is very reminiscent of M. Night Shyamalan Aliens. That title is so hard. What's with Rick and Morty titles? But instead of the simulation part being a part of the joke, it's actually serious and it's a really cool spin. I really enjoyed actually being surprised for once. They leave the hole without dying and escape back home. Though, like Rick and Morty, I knew they hadn't really left the hole. Yet their exploration around Diane, oh, it's all so good. Something quite funny is early on, they were trying to figure out what their fears are and what the hole is trying to help them conquer. With the big twist is that it's only Morty in the hole. Rick actually prods the right question right off the bat.
Your greatest fear is me getting Diane back and being happy again, because then I won't need you.
Now, Rick's reasoning is off, but the idea of Rick not needing him and Morty himself being replaceable, as it's revealed later, that's just so interesting. The general idea of Morty being dependent of Rick with everything that's happened between these two. I wish this season behind the scenes had kind of foreshadowed or like explored that a tad more.
I'm afraid that if I jumped into a hole, you wouldn't even bother jumping in after me.
Now, while that is a very good episode, it's not the season's best. That is easily... This season might have been really rough in parts, and I've titled this video that it's the worst season yet. The fact of the matter is, it's still Rick and Morty. The average rating might be lower than normal, but I still adore the show. It's why I still cover it. Episode 10 slapped, yet episode 5 felt like it might be up there with one of the show's best. The tone immediately just felt different. Bam! Even Morty's here. We get a small recap with that Blade Runner synth returning, and fucking A, I'm all for this. I was like begging them not to waste this premise. Hunting Rick Prime. Fuck yeah! Holy shit! We already found him! This episode is literally worth an entire video by itself. Evil Morty and Rick team up for action that is actually really, really good. I just can't express how many things in here during the second act actually work. Jumping ahead to the third act, which is just straight up like a Phantom Menace style area. Like, what the hell? All of this action, it's all really good. No caveats, no notes. After all that, which was already really damn good, we get a scene that is honestly a highlight for the entire show. The edits I was seeing on TikTok following this scene, chills. No Justin Roiland, so this is going to be the first major challenge for Ian Cardone. And to be honest, I actually think he did a really good job, even better than Justin could ever do. Ian's talent here actually makes me feel for Rick. Like, what the fuck? This is so damn good.
What's your life without me? Let's find out.
Like, bro, you would have been me. I walked into your garage before you walked into mine.
But eventually, you did. You lived in my house.
This all just recontextualizes the show to such a painful degree. Rick walks out covered in blood, and the questions Evil Morty asks actually pose genuine thoughts to be had. Just how does this change our Rick?
How's it feel? Exactly the same. Yeah, it always does.
This was almost deliberately anticlimactic, not for us as the viewer, but by not having this be a season finale. This was just like a Wednesday or something to Rick. He did not set out at the start of this episode thinking, all right, let's kill Rick Prime, boys, let's go, let's jump out of the helicopter, we're jumping, let's kill him, like most of us had thought. The last couple minutes have Rick in this almost ambivalent state. The entire show doesn't need to be this melancholic or aim to be this transformative with its characters, yet without this episode, I would have honestly changed the title of this video that this season would have been a disaster. Is it clickbaity? Yeah, it's still a sitcom that does its job for 10 weeks a year, but the standard for Rick and Morty is normally so high, and episode 5 actually exceeded them by so much. While a couple of episodes were genuinely a standout this season was beyond disappointing. I do not like harping on one point too long that's negative. I dislike quite a lot of episodes. How long do I really need to spend saying this episode's premise didn't work for me and I didn't find it funny or moving at all? Like, after how many words do you just kind of just get what I mean? But to explore just a few episodes that really moved me, that was so much fun to write about. And you guys can continue to show up every time I upload one of these. It's why I ask in the space of Rick and Morty, what do you want to see? In the comment section down below, I want to hear your thoughts on season 7, and if you thought too that it was its worst season, or if it was another season, then sound off down below. What did you think? Other than that, I just have to thank my patrons. In the Great Mates tier, we have Colin, CJ, and Nick, and in the Good Mates tier, we have Jadu Sable. If seeing your name here at the end of videos, or seeing your name being called out, and a bunch of other perks, if it interests you, please make sure to follow the link in the description down below. You get to see videos early, you get to see scripts, you get to see a bunch of stuff. So thank you so much for watching today's video. Make sure subscribe, share it, all that kind of stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one.